speak a little bit louder. Now it's working. Oh, is it okay?
Yeah.
Perfect. So if you are, I have seen a lot of hands raised just when Anna asked if you are active in the health sector. So do you already have an answer to that question? Then I don't have to give my talk.
Nice try.
Well, it's been.
Sorry?
It's been.
Yeah. Okay, so I will just ask a few questions during my presentation. I hope that's okay for you. If you are familiar with the 12 minutes, then it shouldn't be tough for you. No, but anyways, so I would like to discuss a little bit and give some insights about the healthcare sector, and especially also with a focus on B2B, because when you look into the media, there's a lot of discussion about B2C, telemedicine and all that stuff. That's also important, but we don't have to forget the B2B solutions and the approaches within the healthcare sectors. But let me start with some insights about the question, is it necessary? So what is the environment, what are the situations we are facing when we take a look at the healthcare system? So do you know what these numbers are here? So the left number is the number of births in 2015. And the right number is people who died in the same year, so 4 years ago. So you can see we have a growing population, right? And another phenomenon is that we are also facing a demographic transformation. So people are getting older and older, and we have also a lot of new births, especially besides Europe, Germany, or the other continents that are growing faster than we do. But then the central question is there the labor force to take care of all those patients? Do we have a lot of nurses, physicians, doctors who can really do the treatments for the older and the younger people? That is one central question we have to answer. So that is one challenge, I would say. And then we have also the situation that it might be tough because we don't have enough skilled workers to get appointments with specialists. So sometimes you have to wait weeks, even months, to get an appointment with a medical specialist. So are you satisfied with that? When you have some urgent need for a treatment and you have to wait weeks and weeks and months, would that be satisfied for you? Probably not. So what are those guys doing? I mean, just waiting there, it's not really the good thing. So and then the question, is there a backdoor? Yes, it is. And that is something that you can also see in the healthcare sectors. If you don't get an appointment, then what are you doing? You're going to the emergency admission. And that the consequence is that there are actually 1/3 more people who shouldn't be there. So that's an overload of patients. And then it's pretty tough for all the doctors, for the nurses to take care of that challenge. Yeah, because it's pretty hard to prioritize. So which one really has a need? Because maybe they are also saying, okay, really doctor, it's really important, please take care of me. But in the end, it's not. So it's pretty hard to handle that challenge from an ethical perspective, but also from an economical perspective, because having an emergency admission is not really a big profit unit within a hospital. You are making losses actually with such a unit, and that's a challenge, of course, for hospitals in terms of the financial situation. So again, then again, do you think that we need digitization in the healthcare sector or not? What's your opinion? Who says yes, we need it? Both of them? Okay, I think I don't have to ask the second question. But yeah, so now it's a question, where are we at the moment? So what are some specific examples and use cases that we can see in the healthcare sector? So, but first of all, the status quo is that there's a lot of paperwork still in progress. So there are some different statistics that the doctor spends 4 hours per day just on paperwork, bureaucracy. Nurses are doing 3 hours every day, but it's a lot to do just with that paperwork. No digitization in progress in many different tasks they have at the moment. But there's also some progress. So when you take a look at this picture here, do you know what it is? Probably it's a brain or several brains. But the story behind that is that there has been a challenge. A challenge in China where they brought together the smartest tumor diagnosis doctors from all over China. I think 15 guys went there. And there has been an algorithm, an AI algorithm, developed by the hospital in Beijing and some smart technology center. And then they showed them several kinds of those pictures, trying to identify where we have a tumor and where we don't have it. And what do you think, what's the result? Who has been better, the doctors or the artificial intelligence? Yeah, exactly. So here you can see 87% the AI was correct, the doctors just in 66%. And it was also much faster, relying on the AI. But I think it's not just important, okay, AI is always better. I would say, here's the message that one of the doctors said. So I think it's a good comparison how we should take a look at technology. Because he said, AI will be like GPS guiding a car. It will make proposals to a doctor and help the doctor diagnose. But it will be the doctor who ultimately decides. And I think that's the important point. Technology and human has to work together. And that is a good example how that might be work in the future. Let me give you another example about the situation in the hospital. Do you know what this is? It looks like a transformer, right? But actually it's not. That's a bed for an, how to say, an oversized patient. So heavyweight patient called adiposity, so adipositas patient. And there was a hospital, that's a real case actually, from a German hospital. There was a hospital and the workers, they said, at the moment we have 11 of those beds, but they're always occupied. So we need more, 6 more. And one bed has a price of 10,000 euros. So it would be an investment of 60,000 euros to buy those 6 beds. But then what did they do? Just rely, okay, it's always occupied, but they don't really have data. Then they implemented a monitoring system and tried to figure out if this is really the case. And the answer was no. There was no time where all beds have been occupied. There were just 2 times where 10 of those 11 beds have been occupied, but no situation where all beds have been used. So at the end of the story, they didn't buy it. They saved an investment of 60,000 euros. And that's important when you take into account that they're always complaining you don't have budgets, you need more investments. I would say also think about processes. Do you really make the right decisions? Do you really have the data to do that? That is another example I just want to share with you. And then when we talk about weight, here's also an example I would like to share. That is something you probably know. You probably also have it at home. That's just personal scales. So, and why is that important? For example, before you go to a surgery, you have to provide some personal data. Yeah? What's your body size, what's your weight, what's your age, and all that stuff. But the process of gathering that data is also done very manually. And that case here, I really have heard that story, that they mixed up the different information. So that they said, okay, this is your weight, that is your age, but they mixed it up when they transferred it from an offer they just collected on a paper, and then they bring it to the digital patient file. So it's good that we are talking about a digital patient file, but we also have to think about how bringing the data in a smart way to that. Because when we have a paper between here, just writing down, okay, that's your weight, that's your age, and then entering it into the digital patient file, and then when you're making mistakes, what can happen, then it's not the perfect way to just have a patient file. So what we need is IoT. And that's the approach where we are also coming into the game. And that's why I also said in the beginning, B2B is quite interesting. Yeah, because you can also see some numbers. I just want to pick a few. Business-to-business applications will probably capture more value, yeah, than just the consumer uses. And that's why we also have our own use case, what I would like to present to you now. Because that is the potential from the market side here, and we focus on the hand hygiene. Yeah, that's our actually scope where we are in. But before that, or making it more precise, I have another question to you. Have you been to a hospital before as a patient? Just raise your hand. All of you, right? And did you leave that hospital healthy again? Yes. Otherwise you wouldn't be here, right? But yeah, you're laughing. But unfortunately, not everybody can say this. Because every year, 60 million people die because of hospital-acquired infection. And one main reason for that is the lack of hand hygiene. Just every second hand disinfection is actually done. And that's the problem when you know that 90% of all germs are transmitted via our hands. So we need a technology for that. Not just talking, we need data. And we are collecting those data because those guys often overestimate themselves. They think we are germ-free. We don't need that hand disinfection. We are doctors. But that's not true. So we need technology. And that technology is NosoX. How does it work? Pretty simple. That is a usual dispenser in German hospitals, also in Europe. And we take this and upgrade with our sensor. And then you can just measure how often that dispenser has been used. Yeah? And in addition to that, we have also some badges. And that badges can be just added to the clothes. And then you can also track how often, for example, the doctors, the nurses, the therapists have done the hand disinfection to provide more precise data and to do all that training to those guys who have still improvement space. So when all the data is visualized in our software, we have also the ward map where we can also show the different dispensers. We can also say something about the filling level. And yeah, with all that data today, we have collected 5.7 million hand disinfection at our 25 hospital or client facilities. And one of them is Frank, he's the infection control officer, and we have increased the hand disinfection by 35%, and now he's happy again. And yeah, we are working on the smart hospital with those guys.
Thank you. So 6 minutes Q&A. Who has a question for Tobias?
How's the data transmitted from the device to who is looking at the data, and which information is the outcome?
So from the technology perspective, it's Bluetooth for energy. So because relying on Wi-Fi is not a good idea, because in many hospitals in Germany you don't really have that. So what we are doing, we just have our dispenser here, and then every time when you just push the lever of the dispenser, then the data is transferred to that badge. And then the hospital or the healthcare workers are running around, and there's one data hub on every hospital ward. And that data hub is scanning the environment. Is there any badge around? If yes, please send me the data over the air automatically. And then we get all that data, then it's transferred to the server, and then especially in every hospital there's an infection control officer or a team. And the task of them is to take control of the hygiene situation, and they are looking into the data, trying to figure out where there's some things to do, and then going on and doing trainings, observations, and that's our main target group. Thanks.
Is it accepted by the target group, like doctors and nurses and so on? Do they embrace it, or are they rather against it in the beginning?
Well, being open to them, what's behind that is really important. So you have to say it's not a project from the boss that we just want to track single persons. It's about improving the whole situation, because there's also evidence that when you as a healthcare worker, as a doctor, doing the hand disinfection more often, it also protects yourself. So it's not just about patient safety, it's also about employee safety. And when you show that, then it helps them, and then they say, okay, I understand that. And we always say hygiene is a team sport, and we have to do it all together. Otherwise, we still have the infections here, and that's not good for reputation. It's a lot of overload, because when you have a patient with an infection, then the patient is longer in the hospital, he needs some special treatments, and that's not really a fun use case for those healthcare workers.
Sorry, I was a bit late, maybe you already spoke about this. How do you deal with fake data in the way that for those who have been in Singapore in the airport, in the toilets, you can score how clean the bathroom is. They also have this in Hamburg. I saw it like 6 months ago. I saw one cleaner that was typing himself that it was clean, and then I saw it here in Hamburg as well. Like 3 months ago, there was this lady that she was doing it herself. So how can you make sure that nobody's doing faking all this data?
I have two answers to that. So you're right, there are some smart guys in the hospitals who are really trying to do some fake data. So there were some doctors who thought, okay, why should I wear this badge and not just pushing that or putting here to the dispenser level? And every time when you push a lever, it's counting. Yeah, but we have an algorithm. When the data is getting into our database, I don't know, several times with the same ID here, then it doesn't make sense. And then another answer to that question, when there's a lot of dispensed amount on the floor, there's alcohol inside, then you get also some bad floor. So it might be that they're doing that from time to time, but it's not the case that they're doing it all the time and then we just have bad data.
Time for another question.
So what you're doing here is that everything is based on data from the past. So when you start to introduce it, then for the first 3 months, everything maybe stays like it is, and only after you had your first analytics to see that you can change, it's going to change. So, but it takes a long time. Don't you think that there are more products or services that are more preventive from the beginning on? Because here it's really, maybe it's also an emotional thing that when people know that they're being controlled, then they do it more often, but it has nothing to do with AI anymore.
So there are also some feedback solutions in our system. For example, we can also place a big display monitor on every hospital ward where you can see the data from yesterday, for example. Then you can discuss it, was it good or was it not that good? That is also an option, but you're totally right, but that's how the infection prevention is working today. They're just looking into the past. And we now define some data, and then we can also do some predictive data. For example, when we know what is the occupation rate in the next 2 weeks, then we can say, okay, that's the number of hand disinfections you have to do. So we can define some objects together, and then we can see if they reach it or not. And we have also some LED feedback. For example, here's also an LED inside, and then we can see, is there enough dispensed amount? So for example, you need 3 milliliters per hand disinfection, that you have enough on your hands to rub it. And that if it's not reached actually below that 3 milliliters, then we can also say the light is still wet. And then when the patient is seeing that, then, oh, no, it's not enough. Yeah? Please do it again.
Okay,
so there's some feedback options.
According to that, what are the legal consequences? Can someone get fired? Like, you know,
That's a great question you can ask later on in person. Thank you very much.